Dude, Steph Curry's 32, already recognized as the greatest shooter of all time. He's a three-time champion, a two-time MVP. He's a member of the 50-40-90 club. And I mean, like, he's had a full year of rest, so I imagine when he comes back next year, he's going to destroy the league, and the Warriors are going to be back in the playoff run again. How you guys doing? It is Monday, July 20th, 2020. Out here in this quarantine, I'm James Sims. And for this episode of The Elite, I was going to do a profile on Steph Curry, a GOAT profile on Steph Curry. My previous GOAT profiles in baseball, I've named Mike Trout and Clayton Kershaw for their MVP for their otherworldly performances up until now, despite not winning championships. In basketball, so far the only other players I've named are Kawhi Leonard for being the giant killer in the NBA and being the Toronto Raptors' greatest player in 1 year. And I also named Kevin Durant for not only being an MVP and proving himself as the best player in the NBA, other than LeBron James, but he was also able to be the best player on the Warriors dynasty. But here's another player, that Warriors dynasty, that I believe deserves to be recommended and that deserves to be identified as a GOAT level player in my book. As of right now, if Steph Curry retires right now, he's one of the best point guards ever. He retires as an NBA great, and he retires as the first NBA player who was unanimously selected to be the MVP. Even though LeBron missed it by one vote, Steph Curry still got all the votes. So I'll give you a little bit of background. So right now, we're talking about Steph Curry, who is a 32-year-old point guard who currently plays for the Golden State Warriors. They play in Oakland. He is 6'3", 185 pounds, and I guess the best way to describe him is, as an offensive player, he's amazing. He's one of the best shooters the game has ever seen. He has so much going for him, especially going along with how talented and special he is as a ball handler, as a passer. Everything else, and you can see just through his NBA legacy that it's led to him being one of the greatest NBA players of all time, despite being 6'3" and 185 pounds. Okay, so to give a little background, his dad, Del Curry, played in the NBA. So, of course, this dude was traveling around a lot. He was born in Akron, but he mainly came up in North Carolina. His dad, I think the last team his dad played for was like the Hornets maybe. But Steph Curry did end up going to Davidson. And he ended up going to Davidson, where he played under Coach Bob McKillop. In his very first season at Davidson as a freshman, he would end up averaging 21.5 points per game, for 4.5 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal a game. Of course, while Davidson finished with a 29-5 record, and they lost in the very first round of the NCAA tournament, but they were able to win their conference in order to make it there. Yeah, Steph Curry was already kind of on the radar at that point. But no, Steph Curry was most definitely that dude, but he wouldn't go on to be recognized until his sophomore year. His sophomore year at Davidson, he'd start 36 games. He'd finish with averaging 26 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, shooting 48% from the field, shooting 44% from 3, 40% from the year before. And he finished with shooting 89% from the field. Davidson eventually that year would go on and lose in the regional final, the Elite Eight of the tourney, after finishing ranked as the 23rd team in the nation, with Steph Curry leading the way as a sophomore. And he decided not to go to the NBA. He decided to come back, but he was already named a consensus second-team All-American, and he was named the SoCon, the Southern Conference Player of the Year in his sophomore year. He elected to go back. And in his junior year, in the 34 games that he played, he finished averaging 28.6 points, 4 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 2.5 steals a game, shooting 45% from the field, shooting 39% from 3, and 87% from the free throw line. Kind of down from his sophomore, but down in his percentages, but he still went up to averaging 29 points per game his last year, his third year at Davidson. That year, they would go on and miss the tourney completely, but that year they finished 27-8. I think they lost their conference. But Steph Curry in college had established himself as a good enough prospect to be taken within the lottery of the 2009 draft. He was taken 7th overall by the Golden State Warriors, where he currently plays. And this was after being named a consensus first-team All-American. He was the SoCon Player of the Year for 2 years in a row, and he was the NCAA scoring leader that year. Now, going on to his 2010 season, Steph Curry would go on to start 77 of the 80 games he would play. He would go on to average 17 points, 4.5 rebounds, 6 assists, and about 2 steals a game, shooting 46% from the field, 44% from three, and he was able to shoot 89% from the free throw line in a season in which the Golden State Warriors finished 13th in the West. Completely missed out on the playoffs, but Stephen Curry in his first year was low-key showing himself to be one of the better players. He made the all-rookie first team, even though the Warriors weren't playing that well. And this was the first season out of many in which he would average incredible numbers scoring, and one of which being that he's always shot above 40% from the field, except for this last season where he played 5 games. Moving on to his age 22 season, before the Warriors made the playoffs in his second season, Steph Curry would start all 74 games, averaging 18.6 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal and a half, shooting 48% from the field, 44% from three, and he led the league in free throw percentage with 93% from the field. That year, the Warriors ended up finishing 12th in the West, completely missing the playoffs yet again. But they were slowly yet surely getting better, and Steph Curry was starting to establish himself as one of the better young players in the game. I imagine this is either right before or right when they got Klay Thompson, and they're starting to build this Warriors team, this rebuild around Steph Curry. Eventually, they got rid of Monte Ellis, and they decided, but because of this season where he decided that okay, we're gonna build around Steph. The very next season in 2011-2012, Steph Curry only started 23 of the 26 games that he played, averaging 28 minutes. He finished averaging 14.7 points. He averaged 3.4 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal and a half, shooting 49 from the field, 46% from three, and 80 from the free throw line. That season, when Steph Curry didn't play the full season, the Warriors would end up missing the playoffs. They would be 13th in the West yet again, dropping from 36 to 23 wins for the season. This would be the last time until this year that the Warriors completely missed the playoffs. But after that, Steph Curry had a little something in his bag, and right before he would make an All-Star game, because the next season he wouldn't make it, but he had established himself as one of the better young players in basketball, and at least the faces of one of the of the best up and coming rebuild in all of basketball. Leading into the 2012-2013 season, while LeBron and the Heatles were winning over there, Steph Curry would go on to average 22.9 points per game, 4 rebounds, 6.9 assists, a steal and a half, shooting 45% from the field, 45% from three, and 90% from the free throw line. He had missed the All-Star game this year, but the Golden State Warriors were low-key becoming one of the league's best teams. And I would argue the second half of that season, Steph Curry went on a tear, and that's when I think he became the best young point guard in basketball, was the second half of the 2012-13 season when he wasn't named an All-Star. The Warriors eventually clinched the 6th seed of the Western Conference with 47 wins, where they beat the Nuggets in the first round, but they eventually lost to the Spurs in 6. That was the first time they made the playoffs, and they had already won a playoff series, which is to show that when this team was fully grown, they'd be dangerous. That leads into his age 25 season, and up until then, Steph Curry was already the Southern Conference Player of the Year in college, and he had gotten to the pros where he had shown that he can shoot high percentages, but can he score at a high enough volume to help his team get better? In 2013, his age 25 season, Steph Curry would go on to be named to his first He'll be named to his first All-Star team, and he was named to this All-NBA second team for the very first time in his career in 2014. As he started all 78 games as the Warriors finished the season ranked 6th in the West, and yet again following that last season, he would finish up with 24 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, 8.5 assists per game, which is the highest he's ever had in a season up to date. He averaged 1.6 steals. Yet again, something he's been able to do pretty consistently in his career. He still averaged 36 minutes and shot 47% from the field, 42% from three, and he went on to shoot 88% from the free throw line. This is the first time that he became a volume scorer of his own, and he was started to be recognized with the NBA because he was an All-Star that year. And the Warriors, once they made it to the playoffs, they were bounced in the first round by the Clippers in 7. This is when the Clippers had Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. The fact that the Warriors got bounced by that team in 7 games It shows that at least they were ready for at least something special. The very next year in 2014-15, this is Steph Curry's legacy before he became a champion. Before his age 26 season, he already established himself as one of the best young point guards in the game. He was an all-star that was averaging 24 points and 8.5 assists in the one season after the NBA decided to snub him from the playoffs, and this team was already like the sixth seed, and they're already the sixth seed. So enter 2014-15, Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson are all gelling together well. They're the official young core of the Warriors. Steph Curry in 2014-15 goes on to he starts 80 games in a season where the Warriors go on to finish with 67 wins. They finish with the best record in the West for the first time in a bit, the first time while Steph Curry's there. And of course, that season, Steph Curry goes on to be named to the All-NBA first team for the first time in his career. And Steph Curry is named the MVP of the league after averaging 23.8 points, averaging 4.3 rebounds, 7.7 assists, 2 steals per game, shooting 49% from the field, 44% from three, and he led the league in free throw percentage yet again, shooting 91.4% from the free throw line. In addition to all of this, he would help the Golden State Warriors make it to the playoffs, and with the first seed, they went on to sweep the Pelicans with Anthony Davis in the first round. They would go on to beat the Grizzlies in the conference semis in 6. They beat the Rockets with James Harden. They beat them in 5 in the conference finals. They went on to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in 6. They beat LeBron kind of single-handedly with Della Vadova and Tristan Thompson, Timofey Mozgov in the starting lineup after Kevin Love got his arm pulled out of his socket by Kelly Olynyk, and Kyrie Irving injured his ankle, and I want to say in the first game of the finals. But that year, the Warriors officially won their first championship. That year, Steph Curry won a season MVP and a championship. Iguodala won the finals MVP, and Bob Myers won his first executive of the year. And of course, and that was before KD got there. That was the year that Steph Curry and the Warriors won before KD got there. And by that time, Steph Curry was already an MVP, a 2-time All-Star, and a champion, something that most players can't say. He was a bit of a late bloomer, but once he got there, he hadn't stopped. And that wouldn't go on to be his best year. He has 2 MVPs, but then his next year would go on to be why Steph Curry would be remembered as one of the greatest players of all time. In his age 26 season, or in his age 27 season for the Warriors in 2015-16, this is the season before they got Kevin Durant, so of course Klay Thompson and Draymond Green were having amazing seasons within their own right. Steph Curry would go on to start 79 games in a season where the Warriors would finish with 73 wins in a season, the most wins any NBA team has ever had in an 82-game regular season. They won 73 games and lost 9 of them. Steph Curry helped him get there. That year, he led the league in scoring. He averaged 30.1 points per game. He averaged 5.4 rebounds, 6.7 assists, 2.1 steals. He shot 50% from the field in out of 20.2 attempts per game. He shot 45% from 3 in 11.2 attempts per game. He shot 90.8% from the free throw line, leading the league for the 3rd year in a row and 5 attempts per game. He was a 50-40-90 player while averaging 30 points a game, 5.5 rebounds, and 6.5 assists, while still averaging 2 steals a game, while the Golden State Warriors won 73 games. Like, at that point, it's fair to say that Steph Curry definitely deserved to be a unanimous MVP here. And as of right now, he is the only player in NBA history who was voted to win the MVP award unanimously. LeBron missed it by 1 vote, but this is the year that Steph Curry got all the votes. I mean, 50-40-90, leading the league in points and steals. I mean, there's not much to say to really argue against that. And like I said, they were going to win 73 games, where they would beat the Rockets in the first round in 5. They beat the Trailblazers in 5 in the conference semis. They beat Damian Lillard. They went on to beat the OKC Thunder with Russ and KD in 7 after they were down 3-2 after 5, but they ended up winning the last 2 thanks to heroic performances by Klay Thompson. They would go on to lose in the NBA Finals to the Cleveland Cavaliers when LeBron put together quite possibly the greatest NBA Finals run in history. But Stephen Curry was named the MVP in back-to-back seasons. Steve Kerr was named the Coach of the Year. And even though they didn't win the finals, Stephen Curry would go down as one of the all-time greatest shooters of. I mean, he's still referred to right now as the greatest all-around shooter in NBA history, and a lot of people can attribute it to this season where he did put together a 50-40-90 season and a unanimous MVP season where his team won 73 games. But to continue, after losing that championship, the Warriors were able to get Kevin Durant to join their team. And immediately that season, Kevin Durant joined their team. And in 2016-17, with KD on their team, Steph Curry in his age 28 season would start 79 games in a season where the Warriors would finish with the best record in the West for the third straight year, at least while Steph Curry was there. They would go on, Steph Curry would go on to average 25 points, 4.5 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 1.8 steals, shooting 47% from the field, 41% from three, and he's shooting 89.8% from the free throw line. No, I mean, he's just consistently putting up amazing scoring or amazing shooting numbers while still averaging 25 points, while still sharing the floor with KD and Draymond and Klay Thompson really all at the same time. Steph Curry in 2016-17 was named to the All-NBA second team for the second time in his career, and he was named to, of course, he was named an All-Star for the third time. And that year, the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs, they would go on to beat the Trailblazers. They'd sweep the Trailblazers in the first round 4-0. They sweep the Jazz in the second round. They sweep the Spurs in the conference finals, and they ended up only losing one game to the Cavaliers in the NBA Finals. Steph Curry was still recognized as one of the better players on the team, as one of the best players on that team. But Kevin Durant was named the Finals MVP that season, and Draymond Green was given his only Defensive Player of the Year award. But that year, the Warriors were simply unstoppable. They were better than the year before, but the year before, they were actually able to pull off the 73 wins. So that moves on to their 2018 season. But by then, Steph Curry already has 2 chips. His 2017-18 season, Steph Curry goes on to start 51 games in a season where the Warriors finished 58-24. They finished second in the West, the first time in the last 4 seasons in which they didn't win the West outright. But of course, Steph Curry did his part. In those 51 games he played, averaging 32 minutes, he finished averaging 26 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.6 steals a game, shooting 49% from the field, 42% from 3, and he led the league in field goal and free throw shooting percentage for the 4th time in his career, making 92% of his free throws in that time. And of course, the Stephen Curry would go on to make his first All-NBA third team. But at that point, it was the 5th time he was named to an All-NBA team in his career, and it was the 5th time that he was named an All-Star, and that was in his age 29 season. That season, the Golden State Warriors would end up beating the Spurs 4-1 in the first round. They beat the Pelicans in the conference semis 4-1. They ended up taking the Rockets to 7 with Chris Paul and James Harden. They ended up winning that one, and they ended up sweeping the Cavs in the finals. And Kevin Durant was the Finals MVP for the second year in a row. And at that point, Steph Curry had been a prime contributor to the Warriors to 3 out of the last 4 championship wins. By that point, he has 3 championships to add to his arsenal, and he already has 2 MVPs from before Kevin Durant even got there. And this would lead on to his last couple of seasons. In 2018-19, that's the last full season in which he played. In his age 30 season, Steph Curry would once again qualify for the NBA second team, while Kevin Durant was still on the team. He would go on to average 27 points a game, the most since KD got there. He went on to average 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He went on to shoot 47% from the field, 44% from 3, 92% from the free throw line. Kind of doing his own thing. Like I said, he was named an All-Star for the 6th time in his career, for the 6th year in a row. And additionally, the Golden State Warriors would finish with the best record in the West for the 4th time in 5 years. They finished with a 57-25 record, where they would beat the Clippers in the first round 4-2. They beat the Rockets in the semis 4-6. They swept the Trailblazers in the conference finals without KD. But once KD and Steph and Klay, once they were all kind of hurt by the NBA Finals, they lost to the Raptors in 6. kind of ending their chances at a possible three-peat or a possible 4 out of 5 for Steph Curry. But Steph Curry was definitely the best player, was one of the best players on one of the best teams in basketball. This past season, KD left. Steph Curry only ended up playing 5 games for the Warriors, averaging 21 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal a game. He shot 40% from the field, 24% from three. The first season where he didn't shoot 40% from the field in a season, and then he ended up making all of his free throws on the season. So, I mean, if you look at his career stats up until now, he is a career 23.5 points per game scorer. He averages 6.6 assists, 4.5 rebounds, 1.7 steals per game. He shoots 47.6% from the field for his career right now, 43.5% from three in his career, and he's a 90.6 career free throw shooter. He's almost a career 50, 40, 90 scorer. And in this past season, without him playing, or Klay Thompson or Draymond even playing, the Warriors finished this past season not playing in the bubble because they have the worst record in the West, and they're treated as and the record shows. But yes, with all of that's been played following this season in which he didn't play, Steph Curry, this next upcoming season, if you're looking at where he is right now, he is a 32-year-old point guard who, despite being 6'3" and 185 pounds, has established himself as one of not only the best point guard in the game, but one of the best players in the game, one of the best players in NBA history. Some might credit him to revolutionizing the game of basketball to where basketball players shoot more threes than they normally would because of the efficiency of it. He changed the game for the better. People would say he's the best shooter of all time. I'd probably agree, considering he's never shot below 40% from three, except for this season where he played 5 games. So I'll personally excuse that. But additionally, in his career, I mean, he's been in the league since he's been 21 years old. He's been in the league for 11 years, and in that 11-year career, including the last year, he's a 3-time champion. He's a 2-time MVP. He's won 6 All-Stars. He's been named to the All-NBA third team once. He's been named to the All-NBA second team twice. He's been named to the All-NBA first team 3 times. He's been the scoring champion in 2016. He was the steals leader once. He was a 50, 40, 90 club member in that very same year where he won the unanimous MVP. He was a three-point contest champion in 2015. He was He was recognized as an all-rookie first-team member in 2010. He was the AP Athlete of the Year in 2015. And he was still named a first-team All-American out of college at Davidson for what he had done. So I believe that ever since he's really been balling at Davidson, he's been one of the best players on the court every single time he stepped on it. And he hasn't really shown any signs of slowing down, despite the fact that he's 32. Considering most of his game revolves around shooting, I imagine he's going to play a lot more seasons. And considering he has nothing else really to play for, he already has 3 championships and 2 finals. I like where the Warriors are sitting right now. They still have Draymond and Klay Thompson, and Klay Thompson's still an amazing shooter, and Draymond can still play defense. The Warriors are the worst team they were the worst team in the NBA this season. The Warriors could very easily get a top 4 pick this upcoming year, including the top. They have a really good shot of getting the number 1 pick. The lottery hasn't happened yet, but with that, I like where Steph Curry is sitting at right now. He even set the NBA record for three-pointers made in a season with 272, and that was in his 2012-2013 season before he had even become, an all-star. But that is who Steph Curry is. His current record sits at 402 threes made in a season in 2016, and that was the season where he was named unanimous MVP. Despite everything that just adds on to the long list of what makes Steph Curry not only an elite level point guard, but to me, he's a GOAT level point guard. If you ever get a chance, watch my boy Steph Curry. He wears number 30 on the Golden State Warriors. He's accomplished so much up until now, but I still have reason to think that he'll probably easily lead the league in 3-pointers this next full season when he comes back. Can't wait to see what the Warriors look like without Kevin Durant, especially with Steph Curry back at the helm. Because the year before they got KD, Steph Curry was the unanimous MVP, and the Warriors did win 73 games with him. Of course, in his era, he's never going to be seen as better than LeBron James or Kevin Durant in his era, but I think he's better than Kawhi, and that deserves that. And just for that, he deserves to be recognized as a GOAT. I appreciate you guys for listening to all 25 minutes of this. It's a very, very long piece, but Steph Curry has a very, very long legacy, and he's not done yet. And that's the crazy thing about him. If you ever get a chance to watch Steph Curry, I mean, just watch the shots that he makes and ask yourself, out of all the players that have qualified to make it to the NBA and to be signed to be making millions of dollars playing basketball, can all of those guys make threes in a game as easily as Steph Curry? And if there's probably like a handful, a small amount that do, and none of them make it at the efficiency clip that Steph Curry does. So with that said, I appreciate you. And with that, I've said my piece on Steph Curry. Peace out.